Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy.
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
It is I, Shino Brando.
For today, we'll be discussing our most noteworthy black superheroes. Starting off with Table.
Okay, I'm going to start us off with John Stewart, who is, just a Green Lantern of the kabillion that are out there. And this is going to take some time because, as is DC's whole dealio with their incessant reboots, John's got a few things he does over the years. His backgrounds are usually relatively straightforward. He is an architect from Detroit, but Post-Crisis doesn't really talk about him before architect other than, he was in the military, moving on. That's why he likes to make light constructs that are guns and shoot things. The one time he shot someone from 3 sectors away.
Okay.
Which, all right, man.
All right. What kind of construct did he use to do that? Like a sniper rifle?
Yeah. A Yellow Lantern was sniping Green Lanterns, so he made a sniper rifle and sniped back.
Wow. Okay.
From 3 sectors away.
Wow. Okay.
Fuck. He first became a Green Lantern after Guy Gardner got seriously injured, which is, one hell of an upgrade on that one.
Which time did Guy Gardner get hit in the head?
Not the time Batman punched him.
Good.
Guy Gardner got seriously injured, as he is wont to do. There needed to be a second Green Lantern, on Earth, anyway. So, John got the job.
Now,
straight up would not wear a mask, by the way. He was just like, no, that's stupid.
Question for you. Was the need for a second Green Lantern because they needed more active members in that sector, or because Guy sucked?
Partially, Guy sucked. Also, Hal wasn't doing so great at the time either, so he needed backup. Otherwise, he would die.
Okay.
And
Hal was too busy being a drunk.
Oh.
Aww.
Damn. All right. Go
and
on.
banging a Star Sapphire.
So I'm going to steal some of the more details on background from New 52 for a second because, again, post-crisis stuff doesn't talk too much about it. Basically, he wanted to make a change in the world because his mom was a community organizer and he was like, oh shit, she's got a point that we should make things better. He wanted to go to college, but as we all know, going to college in the States is very difficult. So he ended up joining the military to pay for college, which he had a story in Green Lantern Volume 3 in which he actually went to Gotham, pre-Green Lantern, by the way. This is I do not understand how in any world sending a bunch of Marines into Gotham makes anyone's lives better. But the Riddler had turned off the power and the military got sent in to help evacuate civilians, even though the only problem was basically a superstorm that was coming and then just Gotham being Gotham. They got sent in and he ended up having to deal with the whole situation with anarchy with the K. Anyway, he becomes a Green Lantern and he's doing that. Thank God, because Hal was not doing great. His very first mission, though, he gets asked to protect a racist politician, which, as you can imagine, went over like a sack of bricks.
Right.
There's an apparent assassination attempt, and shots were fired by an African-American assassin. John refused to intervene when Hal did. Hal went after the guy because he kind of noticed that was completely bullshit and that anyone worth a damn with a gun should have been able to make those shots. So this was clearly fake in some way.
Right.
And it ended up stopping an actual gunman attempting to kill a cop in the parking lot outside because this was all a big ploy from the politician to gain clout, basically.
Okay.
Which is the normal level of bullshit from that profession. But Hal's like, oh shit, maybe John was right about that one. Where initially he just went, I don't like you because, characters aren't allowed to like each other upon first meeting. That's against the rules.
Right. Conflict. It's necessary.
You gotta just have people dislike each other. Look at him. I mean, in John's defense, looking at Hal's face, I also wouldn't like him straight off the bat.
Right.
But now that John was cemented as a proper Green Lantern, he went on to fill in for Hal both in the Justice League and miscellaneous space cop nonsense until Hal eventually pseudo-retired and John became Earth's Green Lantern full-time.
Right.
He ended up marrying fellow Green Lantern, Katma Twee, from the planet of Korugar, Sinestro's place.
Okay.
Before she was eventually murdered by Carol Ferris in full Star Sapphire mode. After her death, John became administrator for the Mosaic world on Oa, which was a whole mess, and then later took on Guardianhood just to relinquish it again because, who wants to be one of those fuckers anyway?
Really? I didn't know he went that far.
Yeah, he did. It was not long from what I understand, but it happened.
And
then he spent a while paraplegic.
Wow, that's like an ascension, man. That's crazy.
Just to immediately get consigned to a wheelchair before comic writers decide once again that disabilities are fake anyways, and so they make him a Green Lantern and fix the problem.
Take it away, yeah. Yeah.
Looking at you, Oracle.
Yeah, and that's the one that upsets me, but that's a discussion for another day.
Agreed. So John continues to play a role in various Green Lantern cosmic bullshit events, including the Sinestro Corps Wars, the War of Light, Blackest Night, Brightest Day, the War of the Green Lanterns. Fun fact, in that last one, he spent some time as an Indigo Lantern, which looks
Really?
cool as hell and is probably the best Lantern to be. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's where all 4 of the Earth-based Green Lanterns, they all get multiple different rings.
Really now?
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah, because the Green Lantern rings are corrupted or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Indigo. That's no. I have to look into this, man. That's nuts.
Yeah, the Indigo Lanterns, I believe they turn up first in Blackest Night. But back to John. He spends a lot of time taking leadership positions throughout the Green Lantern Corps on Earth. And in the New 52, his life sucks, like, a lot more, which is a darn shame because they just seem to want to try to traumatize him over and over again, which is fun.
How do they traumatize him this time?
People dying around him, like, a lot.
Okay.
So in the New 52, the way he gets recruited is the Guardians have been keeping an eye on him. So they send a manhunter down to just, be a test. So he has to fight a manhunter, like, just as a guy.
Okay.
Which, horrible. But he tries, he does his best, and succeeds enough that the Guardians are like, all right, you deserve a ring for your bravery. And then they very specifically don't tell him they sent the manhunter in the first place because they know he'd be mad about it.
Right.
But,
okay.
Higher details. It doesn't get much better from there. He goes on a job investigating some, like, weird shit, and it turns out to be an old Guardian experiment gone wrong, which results in him having to go up against Alpha Lanterns, and is at one point forced to kill another Green Lantern before they can give in to torture and reveal secrets about the Owen defense system. Which
I
is
believe the Alpha Lanterns were
up.
the Guardians' first try at a galactic cop force.
Thank you, Red.
Okay.
And then it turns out that this was all a big ruse by the Guardians to destroy the Corps, so the Alpha Lanterns go, oh shit, we've been corrupted, and all kill themselves.
Okay.
He continues going on in cosmic shenanigans. He's in charge of die occasionally. So all of the time travel and interdimensional douchebaggery shenanigans happens. John really doesn't deserve to have to be a part of it, but he ends up, sort of organizing multiple resistance-y type things when things go awry. He helps coordinate the merging of the Sinestro Corps and the Green Lantern Corps when that comes up.
Okay.
Because there was all of the Green Lanterns got chucked back in time / dimensions and then ended up coming home to find the Sinestro Corps in charge, and we're like, I guess. He plays a huge role in facilitating that, though, and making sure that they don't murder each other.
Right.
But
together.
in general, New 52 / Rebirth John's life just sucks.
And that's sad to hear. I'm sorry to hear that.
But he deals with things so well. And he is one of the most recognizable Green Lanterns after his appearances in things like the Justice League cartoons and various other animated media sources.
Yeah. It shows the testament to, like, the different approaches to each of the lanterns, John being more of the blunt object.
No nonsense gets shit done.
Yes, you know what I mean? And for the time that they needed him, that's what they needed, right? I remember
they needed a tactical brain on the shoulders.
Right? I remember during, like, the 80s and such, like 70s, 80s run, reading John stuff, like, that was a more active time where, like, a lot of writers were pushing these guys, pushing the bar, especially in DC, and they're putting these guys through, like, the ringer, man. And, like, someone like John was perfect for that time, and it speaks to his character because his longevity still sticks. Like, people ask for him still to now, and we bend the rule of having just one lantern per sector. Now we have like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, now we have 6 that just hover over Earth.
Right, so and because it stands to testament, like, each of these guys have a fan base, and it just shows the love. Like, we can't get rid of John. Why? Because too many people love him. All right, well, I guess we break the rule of one lantern per sector. We bring everybody back, right?
People loved him so much. I believe that when the Green Lantern movie that we don't talk about came out, that there was a small but vocal minority of people that said, why is Ryan Reynolds playing a black character?
Yeah.
And then people were schooled in who the character he's playing.
I remember a point in time where they were just like, it should have been John instead.
Agreed.
Like, John is no lantern to scoff at. Sure, he's not got, whatever weird plot armor that Hal Jordan has all the time that lets him be super powerful. But he doesn't fuck around with his light constructs. He genuinely just goes for, this is a thing that will solve my problem now. Cool. And also, he's a powerhouse in his own damn right. Like, he's destroyed 2.5 planets, guys.
He's an interesting character to look into and see what, how flawed and how much of a pro he became with that new Green Lantern show coming on HBO, apparently, right? Like, it'd be a good opportunity for them to hit that diversity mark and make it John. Center on John. If anything, if you even want to make it buddy cop, you could put all of them in there, right? But like at least give us a cast where John is included. Something.
And in the
John Stewart works on screen.
Yeah.
It's been wanted to so much so that they try to rewrite John Diggle into his John Stewart.
That's true. But like he does have
Arrowverse.
like even though he's powerful in his own right, his like choice of suitors in anything he's been in, who in the right mind picks Hawkgirl to have children with? The animated universe's Hawkgirl.
Hey man, love is love, right?
The fastest woman who ever lived.
Oh, love is love, man.
Excuse me? Dude, but like, hear me out on this one. Hot girl, hot. We should probably stop me babbling about bullshit space shenanigans and we should pass it on to Red.
So
You got
from
Red,
bullshit space shenanigans
Mhm.
to now the most street level hero you've ever met. I picked Black Lightning. His first appearance was in Black Lightning #1. Black Lightning #1 is kind of a special case because he is the first black superhero in DC to have a solo series. The concept of Black Lightning started off as a character originally named the Black Bomber, who was a white racist, but would turn into a black superhero when he was stressed.
What?
What? I'm sorry, what?
Whoa,
I'm so upset.
dial that back.
Yeah, we gotta,
So
One more time.
for the audience,
he was
please.
originally a character named the Black Bomber
Mm-hmm.
that was a white racist
Mm-hmm.
who would turn into a black superhero when he was stressed.
What the fuck?
Huh.
My God.
So thankfully, the editor who let that slide left DC. In all of my research, he left DC. Not
Okay.
he was fired, not that he was let go. He
He
up
left.
and left. And Tony Isabella, whose previous work included work on Sweet Christmas Luke Cage,
Yes.
was tasked with rebuilding the character.
Thank
Tony
God.
would go on to write 10 issues, and God rest his soul, Denny O'Neil would
Yeah,
write the
man.
last 2
Rest
in his
peace.
12
Yep.
in his first 12-issue series. Number 11 would come out on time after number 10 in 1978, and number 12, however, this is the first time Black Lightning gets done dirty, was not put out until a crossover comic with Batman and Superman called World's Finest. It wasn't put out until 2 years later
Whoa.
inside of World's Finest.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened there?
It just got put to the side. It got lost in a drawer, and
Huh.
it is one of the it's a hard collection to have of Black Lightning's first 12 issues because now you have to have 1 through 11 and then this random World's Finest issue.
So World's Finest is technically the 12th.
It is
So-
kind of the 12th, but also there's 3 stories in that World's Comics. So
He's just a backup feature in that book then.
no, not even. He's the middle feature.
Wow.
Again, this is the first time Jefferson Pierce gets done dirty. Let's do
It doesn't
some-
stop there.
It does
Go on.
not. So let's do some now in-universe history. Jefferson Pierce grew up in Suicide Slum, a low-income part of Metropolis. His father was accidentally shot during a mob hit, leaving
Okay.
Jeff and his mother in the care of Italian tailor Peter Gamby. At 18, through many years of pushing himself in athletics and his studies, this dude was a poet. He majored in English and sports. He made it to the Olympic Games, the Montreal Olympic Games, if you do the math.
Wow. Okay.
After rising to such fame, Jeff started spreading the message you could get out of the neighborhood with hard work.
Positive
No
message.
matter where you end up, no matter where you were born, you can ascend to whatever you want through hard work.
Facts.
After he left the Olympics, he began teaching in New Carthage. Upon his return to Metropolis 11 years later, he saw that his former home hadn't changed. So he quickly became the principal at the school he attended when he was a boy and
Okay.
made a name for himself as the toughest guy in Suicide Slum because a drug pusher, just some dude that was trying to get kids to do drugs. Jefferson Pierce took him out into the street and just called him the fuck out, and the entire student body watched. He didn't make them. They watched as he just screamed at this dude.
Put him on point. Okay.
Right. The other thing he did is he learned that 3 of the students inside the school were also in gang involvement, and he full on called an assembly and humiliated these 3 children in front of the entire student body.
Well.
That's rough.
I won't stand for this. I'm not putting up with it. Get the fuck out of my school.
Right. Right.
This obviously would cause some backlash from that gang. This gang is called the 100, and unfortunately it's not the Netflix show. It's completely unrelated.
Alas.
And the 100 decided to kill a student and left the body in the gym.
That's rough.
Jeff took this opportunity to form a kind of justice that was counterattack proof. So his pseudo father gave him a suit that had a force field built into the middle of the belt, gave him the ability to generate lightning bolts. So he didn't conjure them. They weren't in his DNA initially. In other origins, he's just a metahuman and that's just his powers, but everything else is the same. But in his original origin, he's given a suit that lets him do that. Now, you would recognize your own principal if he was just wearing a funny belt, you know?
Yes.
So what he decided to do was put on a mask and afro combo and take up jive talking speech. So, for example, he was invited to join the Justice League of America, and he straight up called them, "No, I'm not joining because with them jive turkeys."
They truly were jive turkeys at the time.
They truly were. Other notable moments of him, he has been in 3 incarnations of The Outsiders, and that is why that Young Justice Season 3 is named The Outsiders. He was appointed Secretary of Education when Lex Luthor was elected president, only the second worst president the American citizens have nominated to the presidency. He was one of the 8... Yeah, Secretary of Education.
Right on.
He was one of the 8 people Batman trusted to take down the OMACs, the Omni-Mind and Communities. This man was also done dirty in the Static Shock show, and let me tell you why. So, in the Static Shock show, there is a legacy character named Soul Power, and he comes with him a legacy villain.
Okay.
For some reason, when they were building the show, they modeled Soul Power after Black Lightning, but didn't choose the name for unknown reasons. So Soul Power is supposed to be Black Lightning.
Would it be because that was like Dakotaverse, and so I guess they weren't really meshed together yet?
It's certainly possible, but it's
Soul
kind of
like,
unclear why.
Right? I'm guessing like Soul Power would be like an allegory to Black Lightning.
It very much is. Yeah, so much so that when Black Lightning first hit the air in his live action appearance, that the creators on Twitter went and said that full-on Soul Power was supposed to be Black Lightning. And somewhere along the lines, somebody didn't let them. So they created a quote-unquote new character and made him the legacy character in which for Static to learn different tricks of the trade from.
Okay, I see. And that's why he works in Young Justice right now.
Yes, he does. That's why both of them and Icon show up in Young Justice. But that one's a story for a different day.
Yes.
Same day, just like
a little bit later on.
All right. I believe that takes it to you.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the grandpappy of them all, the patriarch, Black Panther. And he made his first appearance, I believe, Fantastic Four number 52 back in 1966. His name predates the Civil Rights Movement, which at one point, Marvel had to change his name for a little bit to kind of avoid negative press.
What they changed it to?
He became, I believe, was it Black Cougar?
Interesting.
A name that didn't stick. Yeah. A name that didn't stick for very long.
I imagine so.
Right?
I mean, retroactively becoming a political statement is kind of funny, though.
Yeah. He was almost called Coal Tiger, but that didn't stick either. And his birth came around because at the time, both Stan and Jack Kirby were in the office, and they, Stan pretty much stood there and looked at Jack and was just like, we have a lot of Black audience. We have a lot of Black readers. We have a lot of guys in studio who draw and write for us. We got to get more guys on page. And Jack's like, hold on, Stan, I beat you to it because I got an idea. And Stan's like, I got an idea too. And these two guys started brainstorming stuff, and the Panther was born. And
Excelsior.
Exactly. And throughout his run, there's about 7 volumes of Panther stuff, so there's a lot of rich history there. I think his first run, I believe it was in Jungle Action, between number 6 through 18, is technically Marvel's first graphic novel, if collected, known as Panther's Rage. It's the very first 200-page, full-together story, which wasn't done at the time yet. Most things had maybe short arcs, but didn't have like an overlapping storyline that took on multiple issues. This was the first one that actually had a conclusive ending. And after that point, the Panther then joined with different affiliations, Avengers mainly, a lot of close work with the Fantastic Four. Being the king that he is, he's had to have confrontations with Dr. Doom. Anybody in those high positions of leadership and power, the Panther has come across. Exactly, he's another one. In fact, the two of them have so much friction that it's ridiculous.
I believe as of right now, Namor's not allowed on Wakanda soil.
No, he's not allowed, and I believe both Panther and Black Bolt had ditched him during a mission because he kind of backstabbed them to begin with. So in the end, he begged Panther to join. So they had the Illuminati back together again.
The Illuminati being the collective mindscape of like Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Namor, I guess sometimes Professor X, all coming together and solving big problems.
And things were getting kind of too rough for Panther's liking, and so they kind of casted Namor out. And then Namor decided to go join the villains because that's what Namor does. And then when that started getting out of hand, he ran back to Illuminati, which
Namor knows not loyalty, only water.
Right? And at the time, this time, I think Professor X was dead yet again. So I think Beast was his stand-in. And they sat together and were like, no, we're kicking this guy out, man. And so
no one even likes him.
Exactly. So when it came out to the end of it, both Black Bolt and Panther booted him out. And later on, this is later on in life anyways, but in between all that, he's done so much around Marvel, and he's been criminally underplayed and just kind of put on the back burner for many years up until like maybe the media took more of a approach him with the movie, you know, Civil War, his appearance in Civil War, and then Black Panther, his solo movie coming out. So he's got more of a run now, but for years and years, you know, you got him very sparingly. And when he was there, he made an impact, and he was gone. He was almost like a mythical hero, and like like Panther didn't come out unless it was something huge. So here we have the king who had to balance life between Wakanda and the United States, trying to, you know, build bridges between two cultures and yet still save his country from apartheid and the overconsumption of resources, everything you can think of. In between that, at one point, he even filled in for Daredevil when Matt Murdock couldn't be Daredevil anymore. Could you picture Panther in a Daredevil costume?
Frankly, be probably a better Daredevil, but you know.
But I can't imagine him like full on attacking Wilson Fisk.
Well, and the fun part is his appearance as Daredevil. He was never seen outside the shadows, so you never got an appearance.
Well, I mean, Daredevil's mask doesn't cover all of his face,
so he never came out the shadows. So like, he made Daredevil a little bit more scary amongst the criminal underworld because like
going full Batman.
Yeah, full Batman mode and not being seen. He gave it back when he had to return to Wakanda. For him, life is pretty hard, man, because he's got to go between two countries and balance work between being an Avenger, being sometimes even a Fantastic Four member. He's had to fill in. Later on in life, he had to, you know, he ended up marrying Storm, which was a little short-lived in my eyes. It was too bad.
Hell of a power couple, though.
But very, very strong. So, yeah. And their diplomatic tour was probably the best stuff because they had to go. They went everywhere. They went to Atlantis, to Latveria, you know, where they went to. Where did the moon was? Is it for the Inhumans?
Yep, sure was.
Oh yeah, they had to go everywhere. So
it was on the moon.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the two of them, you know, almost like royal family. Like it's like watching Queen Elizabeth and like Philip, you know what I mean? Like go from country to country and have to meet and greet. It was kind of new and kind of refreshing to see that. And it's too bad they didn't stick. And I kind of want them to get back together, but that's all in Marvel's hands. And I'm gonna pass it off.
Wait, before you go.
Oh yeah, go on.
Just on your earlier point about poor Black Panther not getting a lot of appearances or getting weirdly used when he does appear, even in his own goddamn movie. If you just look at the structure of that movie, T'Challa's not the main character.
No, he's not.
The main character of that movie is Eric Killmonger.
Exactly.
It was a cool story, but this is supposed to be T'Challa's movie, and he's barely fucking the guy.
And you know what?
He's just there.
And thanks for bringing that back, because you know, before I pass it off again, for about maybe 4 volumes of his own series, it's called Black Panther, and he's not really in it. In two of the volumes, he's actually a side character. Honestly,
in his own goddamn book.
Yeah, I think in issue number 1 from the Christopher Priest run, he doesn't even appear in his first issue.
That's abysmal.
Right.
I also think in some of the newer stuff, I think it's Tales from Wakanda or Tales of the Black Panther or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever Ta-Nehisi Coates writes.
Yeah.
I think like the Black Panther as in T'Challa in the costume doesn't show up to like 3 issues in.
Yeah.
Also,
isn't he allowed to be in his own content?
It takes forever, and they took T'Challa away from superhero duties to be more of royalty, be a king, right? So
political guy.
Yeah, exactly. So his duties get passed on to Shuri.
And she's got an amazing costume.
She does.
Yes.
But
thrilled to see it.
In the long run, it's come back to T'Challa. He's had to actually fight to take it back.
Yeah, it's almost like his movie made $1.5 billion or something.
So he's back in in that costume. But yeah, for a long time, and do look it up if you guys want to, but for a long time, he wasn't even his own feature. He was just delegated to
in some of the
background work.
early days of Black Panther like being printed,
Yeah.
instead of drawing new stuff, they would just reprint the Jungle books.
Yep.
They would just
Action,
reprint them because they ran out of ideas or got a little late or something.
Well, no, it was because at one point the book got pretty much just not, well, I guess canceled would be it, man. The title came to an end. It got merged into becoming a full Black Panther title. But like, I think there's a mess in between of like getting that, like ending Jungle Action and then getting Black Panther started. I think he didn't have his own solo run until a few years after, because he made more appearances of being a team player, like an Avenger and such and such. At one point, I think his Avengers run I think he's got one of the longest stints. He was there for a number of years. And one last note, the Panther's second graphic novel, he took on the KKK. Check that out. Yeah. All right.
So did Superman, but well, that's a different day.
That's a different day. Beastie, you.
So coming down from Pride Rock with Wakanda, I chose Miles Morales, our favorite Black Spider-Man. Notable for his name, actually, his full name is Miles Gonzalo Morales, because of obviously his parents. He was created by Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pacelli, but his first official appearance was from Ultimate Fallout issue 4. So that was like a 2011 run, just before he kind of like was actually shown in his own run afterwards. Then he was kind of introduced later on, a few months later. It was like 5 to 6 months later or so. But after that, it was the reason, obviously, creating this first Black Spider-Man was because originally around the time Brian and another editor, I believe, Alex Molanzo, were like inspired to make Miles because of the real life problems and events that were going on at the time. And when Barack Obama at the time got like appointed into presidency, they were like, hey, we can make a Black Spider-Man.
Right, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, like
Topically relevant.
we got literally, and it's like it's a proper time. Like we could put this in and see what people say, which was the coolest thing too, because let alone being the first Black Spider-Man, he was the second Hispanic Spider-Man as well.
Miguel O'Hara.
Yeah, because Miguel O'Hara was the obviously 29-9 version of that.
You're so
sad. But with that, our boy originally hails from Earth 1610, which is the Ultimate Universe as we know it. From that happening, from the Ultimate Comics, his father is African American, his mother is Puerto Rican. Right. But how he gained his powers.
I was to say it's interesting how he got the job. Go on.
Yes. As we know, Osborn, the foul Green Goblin, or miscreant of evildoers.
Terrible.
Yes, exactly. The man was basically working on some stuff, and from one of his, I guess, Oz formulas, as it's called, was working on trying to basically replicate the whole Spider-Man radioactive spider that created Peter Parker's Spider-Man. But one of the test subjects of the spiders had basically worked perfectly fine, but escaped because someone, let's just say, stole him out of the lab and ran away with him. And so with the person that stole him, we know him as the uncle to Miles, actually. So from this run, Aaron Davis or the Prowler had him just, just around, sitting, casually. And he basically, Miles was just coming in to visit, hang out with his uncle, be like, hey, how's it kicking? All that stuff. And once you know it, this spider, this son of a bitch, came out of nowhere, crawled up onto Miles' hand, and bit that sucker like it was freaking blood. It just
Could
little
you imagine stealing a spider?
No. Because I couldn't. But like a radioactive spider, that's another thing.
But a spider.
Yeah, I don't know. So from getting obviously bitten from the spider, quickly basically saying that Miles like kind of just noticed it, walked off, was like, what the hell? And instantly fainted. Right on the spot. Like he was just like chilling, and it's just like,
nap time.
Yeah, literally. And then his uncle's just like, hey man, you good? Like, you all right? What's happening? From there on, obviously, he gains the superpowers, like that kind of fast forwarding, but he gains the superpowers from the spider that bit him. And he does get the same powers as our favorite Peter Parker, but he gets a few different ones that are a little bit different. With the spider senses, it's a little bit the same, but it's just a little bit more closer to when something is happening. And then the other powers he's gained was also camouflage, so obviously, able to
being
blend. Blend into his surroundings. The first time it happened, it literally just happened, and he was like, whoa, how do I do this? What the hell? And he was, I think, fighting one of these nemesis or like low-class villains, like in Kangaroo when it happened. So that's before he got his official suit. Then he figured out his other ability of like an electrical venom strike, which he can purge from basically his hands. It does take a while, but like the initial strike of it when affecting somebody can basically either knock them out for a little bit, or the higher the charge can fully paralyze them and like knock them out. So that's
electric power.
Slightly, yes. Another electric based skill, but otherwise.
Sorry, Black Lightning where, huh? Soul power?
Hey,
Electric powers?
Hey, mine eats a fruit and he gets his powers. It's all good.
Sorry, Luffy or hello?
Yeah. But yes.
After the Grand Line, hello?
Are you sailing for One Piece?
I gotta find that One Piece, man.
Oh, man. But yeah, Miles is well known, obviously, over the years. His origin has been like, in the comics, has been like really back and forth in a sense because of the different issues after Secret Wars. Once, so Secret Wars in layman terms was basically, hey, 616 is merging with another world, which Miles Morales was part of. So the Ultimate Universe and the main universe of Marvel was like, we're going to put you together, put you into this little playground area, have fun with
world.
it. Yes. Yeah. And hey, whoever comes out is going to be part of this new one. And
Secret Wars, yeah.
With obviously merging of this new world and then recent rebooted origins for Miles. Essentially, with the whole Secret Wars, he was brought into the main universe where the main Peter Parker is, which is the 616. And then they kind of changed his origins a little bit. And people were starting to be like, wait, what? What's the deal?
Yeah.
Like, the deal? There was like some things that were still the same, but other things were just like, why'd you change this? Like, what the fuck? And then why is this happening? And what's here? But because of that, and more or less just the recent reboot of the issues, which I think there's a issue 1 and 3 of the newest line, which is called Miles Morales Spider-Man. And then you can find that one is more going to be closer of like, he's basically understanding that he was in a different world, like in the Ultimate Universe, but he's still already in the 616 universe. So he's like, he basically has knowledge of another world, but he's always been in 616. And they're just like, yeah, so this is the proper one we're trying to put it, but he's still in this universe, but he's aware of his past universe.
Look, it's not more fucky than what DC's doing right now with randomly giving people memories of the post-crisis world, but then pretending that, like, none of that matters anyway. So yeah. Marvel can do this. They're allowed.
Yeah.
There's only like characters that remember that Secret Wars even happens. I think one is Doom, one is Miles. I think there's a third. And it's the Fantastic Four group.
Yeah, so Miles is now put into this universe. He's shown up in animations for the TV in the Web Warriors storyline on Disney XD for 2 episodes. And then another few episodes that they were showing for the series later on. And then as well into the Spider-Verse.
That's the movie, man.
Which I was going to say.
If anybody really would like to find out more about Miles, just go watch Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
That movie's so
good movie.
Yes. Which this reboot is actually more closer to that.
Yeah.
It's almost like they had a movie coming out.
Right? But otherwise, quick reading recommendations would be Ultimate Fallout issue 4, seeing where he started off, and then Ultimate Comics volume 1 through 4, which was the very beginnings of his starting off, and then like the ones I mentioned, the Miles Morales Spider-Man, which currently has only, I believe, issues 1 to 3. So
the other one I'm going to throw in there is Spider-Man 2 by Michael Bendis.
Yeah, yeah. Good pull.
Where they find the Miles of the 616 universe.
Yeah.
What that guy's up to.
Oh, yes, and also Spider-Verse story. Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon. Those 2 big-ass stories have Miles, like, obviously involved heavily, and it's really interesting to see him, flesh out his abilities.
That features Superior Spider-Man, and nobody likes him.
He's a dick.
Yeah, the idea of Otto being in Peter's body and doing all that bullshit is dumb, but I mean...
Pass.
Marvel needed something to do.
Hard pass.
But I guess that brings it back to table.
Okay, and my next one is also a Marvel guy, so same verse. I'm going to mostly talk about 616 Sam Wilson because, you know what, I just fucking around in the multiverse was not what I was feeling up to doing when I was writing this out, so we're sticking with the main world. Sam Wilson is, from the very beginning, a good boy who deserves better. His first appearance in Captain America number 117 in 1969 as Falcon.
Nice.
His first appearance as Cap himself is in Captain America Volume 7, number 25, but we'll get to why that happened in a bit. So Sam's an orphan, his father being a minister who was killed trying to stop a gang conflict, and his mom was murdered in a mugging a few years later. Sam apparently fell in with the mob and took on the name Snap for criminal activities. And it was a whole thing, except actually that was completely fake and a fabrication by Red Skull to control him using a cosmic cube.
Fucking Red Skull.
Fucking Red Skull.
Man, all right.
But this cosmic cube bullshit also gave Sam the ability to communicate with birds telepathically, mostly his falcon named Redwing, but also other birds later on as he gets better at this.
Okay.
Sam was never a criminal at all, and it was just a really weird, like, pseudo thing that happened, and then it comes up again later when Scarlet Witch accidentally fucks him in the head a little bit, so he starts reverting to that douchey personality a bit, and it causes conflicts between him and Cap during their partnership.
Okay.
But it was weird. His signature wing harness was actually created by the Black Panther, and it becomes his staple in combat as he proceeds on. Because, you know, who doesn't want a guy who can fly? Sam spent some time in charge of the S.H.I.E.L.D. super agents. He did that as kind of a gap when he wasn't being Cap's partner for a while.
Okay.
He was on the Avengers, on and off, periodically. The first time, it was kind of a mess because he was quite literally there to fill a diversity quota, and he was kind of offended by this, so he left.
He should be offended by that.
Yeah. He was quite literally the token black guy on the team.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, guys.
That was bullshit.
Yeah.
But he ends up rejoining the Avengers later to help stop a Red Skull scheme again because bird powers. After that's when he gets cognitively dicked over by Scarlet Witch. And so he's a dick for a while. It causes some conflicts. And then Civil War happens.
Oh boy.
He stays mostly Cap's partner throughout that until, you know, Cap dies.
Yeah,
and then
he takes a bullet to the gut.
Bang.
Courtesy of crossbones. Yeah.
Sam plays nice with the government after that for a while. Then Steve comes back from the dead, gets old manified, so Sam takes over as Captain America. As Cap, Sam gets down to business pretty quick, going up against Hydra, some inhuman nonsense involving poisonous blood and space. S.H.I.E.L.D. tries to make a cosmic cube, which he is very against for very obvious reasons.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this opposition puts him at odds with the government, and that's a theme that kind of gets worse and worse over time, especially after Steve gets rejuiced and they start sharing the mantle of Captain America.
Okay.
So, where people quite literally call Sam Captain Socialism.
Wow.
It culminates in him getting attacked while on the job, with Steve also being capped by the USA agent, or US agent, I guess.
Yeah.
Except it was a whole weird shenanigans organized by the boss of an organization literally called AmeriCops, so we know they're evil, a talk show host, and the evil Nazi version of Steve Rogers that was secretly replacing him at the time.
God damn.
Which is how we get into the whole secret empire nonsense. No, just so we're clear, I'm not going to get any more into it than I strictly have to give Sam his due for doing great work during that event.
Right on.
So Sam steps down as Captain America after this because
as one would do facing that backlash.
Yeah, he's having a horrible time. So he goes off and like lives in the countryside as a self-discovery thing for a while, keeping him conveniently out of secret empire bullshit until he kind of checks in with everyone and sees that things are horrible. So he picks back up the mantle of Captain America to give people a symbol, and he coordinates with the Winter Soldier to fix Steve, and then he steps back down out of the role and back into the role of Falcon because he doesn't want to deal with the PR bullshit, basically, of the Nazi Captain America thing.
Right.
And as Falcon, he moves to Chicago and starts working most primarily on street level crime, which is where he's at these days. Because, you know, vigilantism is a great fallback career path.
Hey, I mean, it works for Spidey. Why not?
That's true. Like, Sam's gotten more attention recently because of the MCU and his growing role in all of that. And we can only hope that they do justice to him as Cap. But, you know.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, the show.
Which I've been told that's the title for the first season only, and the title will change after the first season.
On Twitter, we saw that U.S. Agent is in the show.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it?
So, you know, go read the book.
Yeah.
And no, he continuously just plays a decent role in most of the books he's in. Like, he shows up, he does his job, and he's often in a leadership position unless he's directly paired with Steve.
Sam's done some work over the years. He's been a very, very concrete addition to just about any team up he's been in. He's been a very reliable guy, I would say.
I think he even joined the West Coast Avengers there for a little while.
I think so.
He's the least likely Avengers team.
Yeah, he's done some work over the years.
Avengers. Don't get me started on the Great Lake Avengers, please.
That's fair. We don't need to talk about the Great Lakes Avengers. But we should probably transition to a different topic before I make you. So, Red, what's up?
So, the other character that I brought His name is Icon. His full name is Arnus of Terminus. He is part of DC's Dakotaverse. So he shares a universe with one Shocky Boy and also Raquel Irvin, who goes by Rocket. Arnus of Terminus is commonly referred to as Black Superman, but
Very
wrongly.
Much so. Yeah.
Very wrongly. The only similarities is that his planet also destroyed and he was shipped here, but everything else after that baby lands is completely different. So Arnus is an alien, a full-on alien inside of the pod when it lands on Earth. It scans the native life, or well, the life closest to it when the pod opens, and it happened to be a black woman. Now, this pod landed in 1839.
Ooh.
Not a great time to be a black woman.
Not a great time.
In the deep south of the United States.
Definitely not a good time or a good place right about now.
So he ends up being a slave, and he makes his way up to being a Union soldier and then a lawyer.
Wow.
So just a full-on ascension program. His human name, he goes by Augustus Freeman. And since he's an alien and basically immortal, he is currently, and I mean currently because Icon and some of the other characters from the Dakotaverse, including Rocket and the one Shocky Boy, their stories haven't been told in comics as of lately and haven't for a while because DC and the Dwayne McDuffie estate have been fighting back and forth on who owns what and who can print what and what they can do with said characters. So currently, in his last appearance, basically, he was posing as his own great-grandson.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense since you're immortal.
Right.
What a fun thing to have to do.
He posed as a human until he met Raquel Irvin, who would later take on the heroic name of Rocket. And after accidentally showing her that he had powers from being, in essence, Black Superman, that's when Raquel convinced him to become a hero. He was fully willing to just live life as it was until the young, spry Rocket convinced him to use his powers for the sake of good. A line that really struck me when I was doing research for him was, "I am old by your standards. Old enough to know that justice is either for everyone or no one. Black lives matter."
Damn, all right.
Damn, strong.
And that's Icon.
All right. I guess that takes it to me. Well, for my last pick here, I have the powerful weather witch known as Storm, born Aurora Monroe. She's the daughter of a tribal princess from Kenya and an African-American photojournalist. Interesting about her life, she had to live two lives, one in Harlem and one in Cairo, Egypt. One, I guess, being, the daughter of a photojournalist and a princess comes with double the duties. In her early years, she got to know a very young T'Challa, which would come back later on and they would marry. Storm is highly regarded as probably the most influential woman and probably the most important female character in all of Marvel Comics. She's often compared to Wonder Woman in that regard. She's been one of those characters that has been through so many different teams because of her strength in being a leader and she controls the weather. She's got a lot of powers, right? She's been in the X-Men, she's been an Avenger, Fantastic Four, Morlocks, Liberators. She's been the Secret Avenger. She's been all over the map, man. She's a highly.
I think she was part of the Fantastic Four for a small amount of time.
For her and T'Challa were members when Reed and Sue had left the group. Man, Storm is just one of those characters that endearing and highly loved and so strong that any team up she's in, she does the work. So much so that when she returned to the X-Men, when she had lost her powers, she actually wrestled leadership away from Cyclops. No powers.
Let's be clear, that's an upgrade in every universe.
Well, you know what? This is coming off from when good old One Eye had just lost Jean, and he's going through his phase.
Which time?
The first time. This is after Phoenix, before Madeline, the whole thing. But again, Storm is just one of those characters that just does the work and is just always sought out for, always teamed up with a lot of pairings, and just very, very versatile. I want to see more on-screen appearances of her.
Not to say whoever did her live screen appearances in the X-Men movies did a bad job. We just want more of it.
She was great.
We want
just
more,
want to keep
right?
seeing that.
The thing was, they downplayed, and I'm going to put it out there, I'm going to die on this hill, but they downplayed Halle Berry in those movies. She didn't really do much other than a couple of lines here and there, and they downplayed Storm because, it's fucking Storm, right?
Right.
Fucking Storm, man. So
Storm is one of those who's so powerful that if you let her solve your plot, she will.
Oh, she will.
Every single time.
And it's great because she's super intelligent. Like, she doesn't rely on her powers outright, right? She will look to find solutions before even using her powers. So that's how strong-willed she is. leadership.
Well, that's what you get when Professor X, comes and finds you in Cairo.
When you pickpocket the professor and you do it so cleanly, he has to use his mind to find you to get his wallet back. That's
very funny.
Right, that's how good you are at it. Even her initial appearances when she first gets to the team, right? She lives a life of being a thief with Gambit for a little bit, right? The two of them being master thieves, and you get a different personality of Storm, and then she gets her memories back, and then she becomes this leader again. And then if she's not a leader, she's just this very concrete team member that handles the team. She's dealt with her claustrophobia before and overcome it. Storm's one of those strong characters, and I want to see more of her. I think they started using her in the new later X-Men series with James.
Yeah, House of X and Powers of X. Yep.
Right. But yeah, we want more. I want more. And
pardon me, it's House of X and Powers of 10, but it's
that's
X
it.
and X. So
right.
Pox and Pox.
If the MCU is going to continue and we're going to introduce the X-Men to it, I hope Storm's one of them, and I hope eventually they kind of do Black Panther and Storm marriage and flesh that out a little bit.
You can just make Shuri and Aurora like really good friends.
That too, as something.
And because there's a lot that happens in Egypt with mutants.
Yes.
That you just like make that bond really strong, and then ta-da, you have a way to do Apocalypse if you wanted to, or you can bridge that gap pretty easy.
Yeah, very, very, very true. I did forget to mention that her first appearance was I think Giant Size X-Men #1 back in 1977, I want to say, created by Len Wein and drawn by Dave Cockrum. I'm gonna put a note there just saying that she's probably had the best run of costumes since her debut.
Speaking of yet another black character with electrical powers, Beastie.
That's my
got something to tell us about?
Yeah, well, I mean, connecting to the lightning storm of this family tree, I guess. I have Static Shock.
Yay.
As my last pick.
Superhero Static Shock.
But yes, the boy, as we know him, Static Shock, aka Virgil Ovid Hawkins from the DC universe, or before that was the Dakota universe, aka Milestone Comics. Yeah, so the creator is from Dwayne McDuffie and Robert L. Washington.
Rest in peace,
third, and then and Paul Jean Leon. The first official appearance was in Static issue #1, which was from 1993. So quite a few years after Black Lightning himself. Right. So there is obviously times where people are like, isn't that the same guy? And it's like, no.
Different guy. Same powers.
Yeah, same powers. Different boy. And this is a man. Ooh. it's people get it confused a lot of times. But otherwise, through that first issue, it was officially published through Milestone Comics, but it was distributed by DC Comics.
Okay.
So Milestone Comics was essentially not off-brand, but the side.
Vertigo.
They were their own prints, separate from DC. It took a number of years before they started meshing them together. In fact, I don't even think it was done officially. I think Dwayne McDuffie started, and then I believe he passed away, and then left, and the rest of it was just kind of tied up.
And the rest of it is happens at the end of Young Justice season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Dan DiDio in 2008 had announced that the Dakota Verse said it would be revived and merged into the DC universe around 2008 when that had happened. So those guys all basically came in. We're like, hey, you know what? Let's bring the family over here.
Absorb them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just bring them in, merge them in nicely, give them some notice. Obviously,
if there's one thing I can say, DC's done that the best of just scooping other prints when they go out of function, and then just absorbing their material and making it their own, man.
Yeah,
it happened
Watchmen,
with Shazam,
Wildcats, Dakotaverse.
Yeah, Shazam. Everybody was throughout the years, man. In fact, they took Shazam just in spite because he was like Superman.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so they just took him.
Yeah, nice.
DC likes to own things.
They do. Now they own Static, but they don't use him. Why is that?
He's in Young Justice season 3. He's fine.
Yeah, but he's important.
I want more Static on screen. Listen here, people. If you're filming Black Lightning, the show right now, do it. Just
bring him in.
Just do it.
Just bring the boy. Make him,
Make it a whole family. You got Jefferson. You got his 2 daughters, and you introduce Virgil, and we have a whole squad here. Come on, guys. This is money. There's money to be made here.
I'm gonna die on the Icon Hill.
But later appearances you do hear about Static Shock, or I guess first initial appearances. Besides the comics, WB and DC Comics released an animated series.
Yes.
From early 2000 to 2004. So that was a total of 4 seasons with a total of 52 episodes.
See, that was my exposure to Static. The Milestone comics, when they came out, were already rare and hard to get, right? And I could never find any. And I only knew a few people who had issues, so I would read what I could. But then the show came out, and that gave me all the exposure I wanted.
Yeah, I didn't even realize, like, because Static Shock was just already there for me, like, when I was watching it. So, like, by the time I was, like, obviously paying attention at a young age, I was, like, seeing him just pop up on Saturday morning cartoons. So I was like, hey!
Right, he appeared in Saturday morning cartoons. He did crossovers with Batman Beyond. He did crossovers with the Justice League animated series. He beat up the Joker when the Justice League couldn't.
Speaking of Justice League, he actually appeared, like, a future version of him appears in Justice League Unlimited, which the episode specifically is the Once and Future Thing 1 and 2. From how he got his powers, essentially he was obviously going to school and kind of like small side story. He was basically being bullied a lot by what would become to known one of his nemesis, Francis Stone, or aka Hot Streak. So in the series, if you see this weird fiery boy, with the saggy pants, that's the one.
That's the guy.
Yeah. But so essentially in the comics, how it happened, his buddy Larry Wade asked him, he's like, hey, meet me at this island, like Paris Island over here. We're gonna meet up and just hang out for a bit. He was basically bringing Virgil to the island, but to take out Francis, and essentially like he basically handed him a gun, and he was like, "Yo,
initiation time."
Exactly, like, yo, take your shot, fam, and deal with this sucker. Like, get rid of him completely. But yeah, he tossed the gun in the water. But how the powers come in is while that whole situation was happening with Francis meeting the gang and just Virgil being in the same area, police was coming in at the same time and trying to like throw in this tear gas that had some toxins in it to kind of handle the gang members and deal with it. And the toxins that were in there were pretty bad and not so good for people. The sad thing is, out of the gang members that got affected by it, only 10% of them actually survived it. But with the outcome of either getting like meta powers or superhuman powers, or turning into some sort of like form of creature, like
yes, that's it. The fucking quantum juice, Q juice.
Yeah, exactly. So I bet people either had fully died from the toxins, or people were just alive but they got affected in another way and just were like altered. The cool thing about his powers, obviously comparing slightly to Black Lightning, is to project, channel, generate, manipulate, and absorb raw electromagnetic energy, generally from his body, and fire lightning bolts from his hand. So he's more a sense like a natural generator compared to Jefferson. Yeah,
who can only manipulate it when he's around it.
Exactly. Yeah. He can also generate electromagnetic shields from his body, and also repulsion fields from his body as well. Just kind of like to move people away from it or block enemies of like shooting like bolts or like enemy man-made objects, or actually like rays and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So that came in handy as well. He has a metallic disc that he himself made.
From the trash can lid.
Yes, but this kid is very smart though in the comics. So he had obviously like made one better later on. But in an anime series, he his buddy also upgraded one of his discs so then it would work more colliding with his abilities, I guess.
Right. He's using electromagnetic field. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then another small tidbits of his abilities. Then the comics has mentioned that he has a small healing factor, like a powerful healing factor. Nobody knows or understands like how strong it is, but there is a hint of it.
Well, when you fight the Joker and come out on the other side perfectly fine, you gotta have a healing factor.
Right?
Yeah.
At least handy to have going into that.
Big notes on his rogues gallery. They have some cool names here. Hot Streak, Tarmac, Holocaust. That's kind of rough. Commando X, Puff, Coil, Snake Fingers, Rift, The Swarm, Dr. Kilgore, Rubber Band Man, Rat-a-tat.
Sorry, can we go back to Snake Fingers?
Can we go back to Holocaust?
Yeah.
Rubber Band Man,
Prometheus, Run, Jump, and Burn, Boombox, Power.
Wait, Run, Jump, and Burn? What?
Run, Jump, and Burn. Yeah.
What, is
the opposite of Stop, Drop, and Roll?
Hey. Complete opposite.
Wait, is this one person or 2 people? I hate that
you've now called attention to that.
Wait, okay, no. But is this like 3 people or is it 1 person?
Let's find out.
It might be a Stefford Cuckoo situation where they're all 3, but it is 1.
Could be. Let's see if I can find some information here for you, because that's crazy shit.
Jump and burn.
I'm still not over Snake Fingers though. Is that just a man with snakes for fingers?
You know what? Beastie, you look for Run, Jump, and Burn.
I think I low-key found it, but the way it's like mentioned, it's like
all of these quote unquote villains have been on screen as we've been talking, and I want everybody to just take a minute and just appreciate, or well, appreciate's a strong word. Absorb exactly all of these villains that we're talking about now.
Yeah, so it seems that this guy, it's actually a trio, a full trio. Jump is a member of Capers Inc. So the trio was a costume supervillains consisting of Run, Jump, and Burn, as you said. And yeah, they were kind of more or less shown better in the anime series.
Also, I can't find Snake Fingers, and this is very disappointing.
Me too. I'm trying to look for Snake Fingers, and it's like he doesn't even exist.
He'll be on screen. Don't you worry.
Sounds like Virgil's having a blast, frankly.
He's got some villains to deal with, man. I got some cool names here. So
yeah, he's got an interesting guy.
It's one of those things because like he was like at the time like a modern take on Spider-Man, right? So
Spidey's electrical powers,
right? And Spidey's got those cool ass villain names, Sandman, Kraven,
Rhino,
Mysterio, Rhino, Chameleon. So I mean, it's fun in that vein.
You mean Spider-Man's zoo?
Come on now, yes. But otherwise, Virgil's also been part of different like groups. There was an unnamed Dakota Street gang that he was like formerly part of. There's also Gear, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited later on as well. The man was very heavily involved into the League and was a good portion of the member.
He was the most popular Milestone character, used a whole lot, and kind of was the bridge to introduce the other ones from that universe into DC, man.
In the sense that he was, I guess, as you mentioned, like he was the Spider-Man of that universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like he's young and just obviously like he was witty, so he kind of was the proper person to use, I guess, or be the milestone for that.
Fast, he's the chosen.
Oh my gosh! But some reading recommendations, if you do want to look into it more, would be Static Shock issue 1, which is the very first, like the 1993 one, The Rebirth of Cool.
Yes.
Static Shock Volume 1.
Yes.
Watch the fucking show.
Oh Jesus! Yes. But these are reading recommendations. Gosh. Static Shock Volume 1 of Supercharged, which is now he's DC involved, I believe. He should be in that one. Otherwise, the other one would be Worlds Collide, A Rift Between Worlds, and Teen Titans issue 79. So that is our boy Virgil, aka Static. So I guess that brings it to if we have any honorable mentions to add on.
Oh yes.
Can I just say we talked about a lot of black guys and very few ladies, and so I'm just gonna list a couple real fast. We've got Mary McCabe, the Vixen, who we did mention earlier, like in an offhanded way. We also offhandedly mentioned Rocket, and most recently brought out and about, who's only got like 6 issues of a book so far, is Jo Mullane, who is the newest Green Lantern.
We have Kamala Khan. How did we skip her?
Oh yeah,
Very true.
There's a lot, man. There's Blade. There's Luke Cage,
Miguel O'Hara, as we mentioned.
O'Hara, right? There's a lot of them, man. Jeez, we can go through a whole bunch. There's Bill Foster, aka Goliath, Cyborg, man.
Cyborg?
Yeah, how did we forget Cyborg?
Cyborg.
We've also got Misty Knight and Bumblebee. We didn't mention
Misty Knight. Yeah.
Oh yes.
There's a plethora of them, man. We can dig them all up.
We talked about Black Lightning. We didn't talk about Thunder.
Right? Yeah.
Well, that's his daughter.
Yeah.
Or Lightning.
But
that's his other daughter.
Yeah, I know.
Well, man, we can dig them all up. Let's keep going.
I mean, like, there's Spawn for an indie rep.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So across all of comics, we have like a vast majority of all sorts of people of color, like being heroes and also being villains.
Yes.
And all we're trying to say in this episode is
Black Lives Matter.
Please give them more stories.
They're there. They exist. Not all of them are Nate Holocaust.
Write about them.
Give us more, please. There's a lot that are not getting their due, and now is the perfect time to do it. There's so many characters that so many people don't even know they have a ethnic background. It's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's time. No, the time is now. There's a lot of properties you can use. I, for one, would like to see some, the New Warriors. I'd like to see a team led by Night Thrasher, right? Bishop. Give me more Bishop from the X-Men. Give me stuff. Give me stuff.
At this point, I'd take a story dedicated to Amanda Waller.
Give me Amanda Waller. Give me more Waller. I'll take Waller.
Who is Waller?
What is Waller?
Yeah, I was Waller.
Thankfully, we have the Marvel show coming. We have a Black Captain America currently.
right?
MCU.
Get back on that note of when we were tackling an interracial coupling and we had a Cloak and Dagger, but it wasn't done. It wasn't done very well. Give us something, give us that back. Give us some real stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff
better.
Yeah, much better. There's a lot of stuff we can work with that they're not, they forgot about. So we're looking at you, media. Do it.
Bring it out. Come on.
And with that, Beastie, why don't you wrap us up?
Well, that brings us to our social media, where you can check us out on Twitter at Crusade Nerd. On Instagram, we're posting as well, Nerd Crusade, and we upload every Wednesday to YouTube, and you can download any previous episodes or listen on your mobile device through the Anchor FM app or wherever podcasts are found by searching Nerd Crusade.
At this point, I can editor, please insert a picture of Rhodey War Machine and just say, "Am I a joke to you?" Because we forgot to mention this guy as well, and asking me to be continued.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this issue, go ahead and button mash the thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the subscribe button on YouTube or anywhere you can to listen to our podcast. And to be updated to know when a new issue is out, hit the bell to be notified by